G'day everyone, meteorologist Mark Molnar here. How is everybody doing? Well, we're watching a piece of energy come in from California. It's going to be entering the desert southwest here on Wednesday, and watch as this system traverses and catches up to this energy back east. This is what's going to be fueling our potential system here across the east, and this is what could give us some winter storm conditions along the northern fringe of the system. Watch this as we go into Friday. Look at that. Heavy snow and ice breaking out here across much of the Northeast. Let me give you the timeline, the rundown, model, runs, and what I think is going to happen with snow and ice accumulations. Let's get into it. All right, so starting again here from the GFS, the very beginning. Tuesday you have that storm pummeling California here. There's that energy diving into the Intermountain West as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. And watch it meet up here with that Gulf Coast moisture. That low pressure is going to be riding up, and there's going to be some strong to severe thunderstorms definitely in this sector here later Thursday into Friday. So watch this as we continue to move here towards the Northeast. You're going to get to work and watch how quickly this moves in. 10 a.m. here, you're pretty much coming up on much of central and northeastern Pennsylvania. By 1 p.m., you're breaking out some heavy snowfall accumulations, 1 to 2 inches an hour from Buffalo, Binghamton, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, just north of New York City. And look at this out on Long Island as well. Watch this as we continue in time. This is where things get a little crazy. We're going to continue to build that heavy snow here. This model's kind of coming in a little bit colder, keeping that cold high up here to the north. I'll show you momentarily. But yeah, it's going to keep that heavy snow mix here across parts of Pennsylvania and upstate New York. And look at this, as we get towards 10 p.m. Friday, we're going to start to see, if we just back it up one frame. Yeah, so you're going to have that mix line moving north towards the New York-Pennsylvania border, and look at that into southern New England as well. North from the New York State Thruway on northward here, this is where you could see some 1 to 2 feet potentially. It's too early to get into exact snowfall totals, but look at this. As we head throughout Friday night, the warm air overrides the cold air at the surface. We do have a very cold high up here to the north, situated right over Quebec, and that is where we're going to see all of that cold dome at the surface. It's going to continue to be overrun with isentropic lift by all this moisture. Look at it, starts to go coastal as well Saturday morning at 4 a.m. and we start to pull that system out. But we still have plenty of wraparound moisture in the near term as we go through the weekend. All right, so taking a look at the models, it is a bit far out to get into exact snowfall accumulations. These models are still trying to work themselves out, and they'll be bouncing around the next couple days. But as we draw closer to Friday, this is what the GFS is indicating: a big area of a foot or more, probably 12 to 18 inches from the New York-Pennsylvania border on northward, Massachusetts-Connecticut border on northward here. Take a look at that. Binghamton, Syracuse, Rochester, Jamestown, all the way over towards Albany, Boston. These areas, yeah, you could be getting inundated with snowfall here, but look at this. There's going to be warm air across Pennsylvania. This is where we're going to cut down the snowfall accumulations into the 6 to 8 inch range. Now, the latest European model run really throws everything off here. Yeah, you're not seeing things. This is through mid-Saturday morning. There is essentially nothing, almost nil. There's a couple inches here, but that's about it. I'm not sure what to think of this, other than the fact that the European model is really bringing in some warm air. I definitely don't want to discount this early in the game. The system is making its way onshore across California, so we'll have more data as we go forward, but definitely keeping an eye on this, because the European model has pushed, as you can see, go to the last frame there, pushed the heaviest snow up into Canada and extreme northern New England. All right, so looking at the Canadian model here, let's see how this lines up. It is pretty similar, I would say, to the GFS, in just the respect it's a little bit farther to the north. I'm actually pretty apt to agree with this pretty well. This early in the game, we're going to see that, solid 1 to 2 feet here into these maroon colors. So yeah, it's going to make all the difference. Cleveland southward here, you're just looking too warm, as well as southeastern Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania, maybe a little bit on the start here into parts of the Laurel Highlands. But you know what? The big snows are definitely looking like, at this stage of the game, confined here to northern New York. So taking a look at the latest European model run, just hot off the press here, you can see there's going to be some changes here. One thing to note, though, all the energy coming onshore into California. We're going to get much more data as we go into overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. So, things are probably going to change as we go in time here. But these are the positioning here. Let's take a look. Heading on through your Wednesday. There's that energy coming through the Intermountain West. We start to see some, this piece of energy, and here this piece of energy. Watch what happens here. The European model doing a pretty good job, tapping into some strong to severe thunderstorms here across parts of South Texas. This is actually Friday, so the European model has slowed things way down here. Look at this. This is rather interesting. This could have big implications here as we go through mid-morning. Let's take it through mid-morning here. There we go. So just after sunrise into mid-morning, the European model. Look at this. It's bringing this mega high further southward. So it's actually slowing the system down here across the Mississippi River Valley. 982 millibars, that's nothing to sneeze at. But look at this. Yeah, we don't start to see, that heavy snow here across the Northeast. We start to see some icing here into parts of south central Pennsylvania. We got some big old snows and ice here from Chicago over to Detroit, down to Missouri here. But look at this. We don't start to get into some snowfall here into parts of the Northeast until around, say, the evening commute here. So you see some of these severe thunderstorms. Even you could see some strong thunderstorms as far north as Cleveland, according to this latest European model. Look at this. And this high pressure system really stubbornly stuck here across the eastern part of North America. And you can see we're starting to get some snow up here towards Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Binghamton, Syracuse area. This is, towards essentially midnight, though. Look at this. And it slowly moves into the northeast, and you kind of get the hint that there's potentially coastal development here, but it doesn't fully take over immediately on the Euro like it does on the GFS and the Canadian. So we have this big old dry slot behind it, so this could have serious implications if this does hold true. All right, so let's take a look at the flow up here at 500 millibars. Taking a look at what's going on upstairs so we can figure out what's going on downstairs. So there's that big old system here encompassing much of the west coast, and watch that funnel back east here. This is towards March 2nd at 7 p.m. Look at that. So yeah, this is going to be moving right up through the plains. Look at this. This is a crazy amount of storminess moving up. There's definitely going to be some strong to severe thunderstorms here across this region. And along the northern periphery, this is where we're going to see the big-time snows really start to kick in. And then, of course, parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, southern New England, we might actually see some significant icing take place here. And watch this as we continue to go up through Friday, the 3rd, into the 4th. The best dynamics start to flow over parts of the Northeast here. This is where you're going to get this system, this coastal low that's going to take effect here and move. It's actually not going to hug the coast, but it's going to move out more like this direction. But we'll still get some pretty decent snows, I think, here, especially across the North Country as well. In between here, this is where we're going to see some icy conditions. So definitely watch out here. So to kind of understand what we just saw here, let's take a look at the upper level anomalies here, the latest European model, and see what's exactly going on this. And we'll actually compare this to the GFS here and see what's actually going on, up above. So there's that high pressure, that ridging here. There's that energy here across the intermountain region. So what's going on here is we have this area of high pressure here continuing across the eastern part of North America. This is going to slow the system down here according to the European models. You say towards Friday here, this Friday morning, look at this ridge. You see that high pressure system coming south here. That's that ridging developing here across the western Atlantic. And this is what's happening to the system. It has nowhere to go but up and over this ridge. And that's why we're getting all of these systems pulling up all this warm air and rain across eastern North America. And this is why we've seen no winter for the most part here across parts of the big cities and coastal sections of the Northeast. You can see Saturday, it has no place to go but northward here. And we don't, according to the European model, we're not even spinning up a area of low pressure. But look at the blocking up here into Greenland. All right, so as we take a look at the GFS here, this kind of paints the picture, gives us a better idea of what's going on behind the GFS's scenes here. The high pressure here along the East Coast, it is there, but you don't see it poking up into the Northeast like it was on the European model. Here is the more progressive GFS, bringing the system in much quicker here. you can see there is still one thing to notice here. This is just late morning here in the Northeast. It is starting to bring this up, so I'm a little puzzled as to why the GFS brings this in so quickly. So the European is starting to hold, as many of you know, a lot of weight here. So being that the GFS is showing this at 500 millibars way up in the atmosphere, just like the European model, but not reflecting that at the surface, that is a little bit troubling here. And you can see here, according to the GFS, it is able to puncture this ridge by early Saturday morning. So you start to see, this ridge retreating to the east. Look at the blocking. It's even more pronounced here up in Greenland and northeastern North America here on the GFS. And if we continue in time, that system actually busts apart this ridge. So whether the Euro or the GFS is correct on this remains to be seen. But let's throw the Canadian into the mix here. All right, so let's take a look at the Canadian model here. Let's see. So there's that ridge there Thursday into Friday. So we'll take early Friday morning. Here is that ridge here across the east. You can see there's more troughiness up here in the northeast on the Canadian here. High pressure continuing. There is our big old trough of energy here. Now watch this. This is pretty interesting. The Canadian is indicating by later Saturday evening here, this ridging still going to be present up here in the northeast. So you're going to have all of this moisture overflowing over top this warm front. But look at this. The system's able to puncture the ridge even down south here. So the Canadian's kind of hinting that this system's going to be pretty big, pretty major, enough to bust through this ridge as well. So it's like 2 against 1, but you know what? It's the European model we're talking is the odd man out here. And, it's really hard to bet against the European model here. All right, so to get an idea of what's going on in the upper atmosphere, bringing up basically a model sounding here near Binghamton, New York, what's going to be right in the middle of this dividing line between snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain. So here it is, Friday this is just a couple hours before sunrise, 60. So here's our 0 degrees Celsius line. You see this temperature line here bending out here, essentially. This is where you're starting to see some warm air. Now, here's our 0 degrees Celsius. That's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So essentially, this line, as it bends towards, the upper layers, about 1 kilometer up, 1 to 2 kilometers up. Watch what happens here. So we should be able to move this forward. Here's 63 hours out. Let's continue. I still don't see it above freezing yet. Oh, here we go. At the surface, it gets to 33 Fahrenheit. So this is right around... Yeah, so we're just getting just before noon here, Friday, March 3rd. So let's continue to go a little bit further out here. Actually, it appears to be stuck. There we go. 72 hours out. So this is really puzzling. It's actually, according to the sounding, the European model is switching everybody basically from the New York State Thruway on southward over to rain. So that's what's happening here. The European model seems pretty confident all of a sudden to bring in massive amounts of rain. Look at this, 39 Fahrenheit at the surface. And look at this, we're just straddling just below freezing up above. So this kind of is showing that there's going to be enough warm air bringing in at low levels that we're going to switch most everything to rain. So we're going to watch this over the next couple days, see how this unfolds. All right, so let's take a look at some correlations here. See if Japan is continuing to remain snowy here. Now watch Japan. It's actually warming up here this week. So Siberia is kind of warming up here too. So usually when we see a cold Siberia, cold snowy, we see cold and snowy back eastern part of North America. But the one thing here is Japan does seem to be warming up slightly. So that's going to bring, I think, some colder air potentially across the eastern part of North America as we go through March here. And you can kind of see it back building here across parts of, you can see Siberia as well. So we do start to see some colder periods there towards Japan, towards March 10th. But you can see there is some pretty cold air bottled up here across northwestern, north central North America. You can see it spilling down into parts of western North America. If we can get any sort of polar vortex breaking off to actually bring that back east, that would be encouraging for people who are suffering from snowfall deficits across the east coast of the United States. All right, and taking Jim from the Groton, Connecticut area. Take a look at today, February 28th. Look at this nice view. Finally, some decent snows, as you can see here across the Groton, Connecticut area. Look at the beautiful views here off the background. Snow is actually accumulating on the ground finally, and look at that. Make some pine trees there. Nice snow, even accumulating on the trees, sticking to the trees. Nice, heavy, wet snow, and look at that. Yes, it's sticking to everything. This is the kind of snow you really like because it just blankets everything and makes everything feel so nice and clean and bright and nice. And oh, I am so glad, Jim, you finally got some decent snow across the area, and we'll see if we can somewhat possibly do it again, hopefully towards Friday and Saturday. We'll take a look here, but very nice captures here, Jim, and congratulations on the snowfall here. And taking a look at John's photos here, he's at the M62 near Huddersfield Stadium this past Monday. It was 14 degrees Celsius, so getting up there a little bit in temperature-wise. Looking nice, actually. Take a look at this. Yeah, as we continue to scroll through these, you can see some really nice blue sky there in the background. Take a look at that. Yeah, it's definitely winter time, but it's feeling more like spring here. Nice captures. He's getting out there on the highway, the M62 near Huddersfield Stadium. Nice captures here, John. All right, so here we go. I didn't want to leave you out here into the Western Pacific. There actually is not too much going on here, so let's just run through it really quick. We do have some systems out here south of Asia, the Asian continent here, Vietnam. So, yeah, as we go in time, it's pretty dry here across the Philippines. Your tropical season never really truly ends, but look at that. It feels like it's pretty well ended for the time being. Look at this. You do get a frontal boundary that kind of stalls out here across the southern Philippines towards Friday, March 10th. But you know what? There is not much to write home about here, and you deserve the break after you've had such a rainy January and early February. But look, we do start to have a return flow. This is towards Monday, March 13th here. You can see there is some monsoon-type moisture moving up through here, parts of the Western Pacific. And as we continue in time here, that kind of gets stalled out here across the central Philippines through March 15th before trying to move off ever so slightly to the north. That is a sign right there that we're starting to see, warmer conditions. And you see this frontal boundary kind of stalled up here across China, Japan, and South Korea. That ultimately means that these systems have a harder time reaching farther south, so you're going to have a lot more return of tropical moisture here. All right, so as we take a look at temperature outlook, we'll get an idea of what's cold air this storm has to work with. You can see initially Wednesday morning we're cooling down into the northeast in the 20s, but we warm it up near 40, so we're going to start to melt off some of that snowpack you have up here into the northeast. You can see 65 degrees in Pittsburgh by Wednesday afternoon, 52 in Cleveland. But look at that, as we continue to cool off towards night, we don't cool off too much, 30s in the northeast, but look at that. Thursday, yeah, we got this warm air just blasting this furnace from this loop from Florida all the way up to Texas and then up the spine of the Appalachians here. Watch this for Thursday. We're actually getting well up into the 50s into parts of Pennsylvania south of Interstate 80. That's just crazy for this time of year. But look at this. Friday, we cool it down, and then, yeah, we get some pretty good overnight lows here with this high-pressure system. So it's interesting to see how quickly the European model warms this up. Look at this. It's Friday, right around 1 p.m. Well into the 40s. So we'll have to see how this plays out. There's a big surge of 70s here into eastern Kentucky. Look at that, into Ohio. So that's crazy. But look at this. As the precipitation moves in, you get some of that adiabatic cooling, and it starts to manufacture some of its own cold air, along with the high-pressure system. So, yeah, Saturday night, we could see some pretty decent European models hinting, there with some of those areas at heavy icing. So that's a bit of a concern as well. So we're going to watch out for that. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton's Upper Susquehanna River Valley, Wednesday through Saturday. Look at this. Yeah, this is crazy because we're going to go from the mid to upper 40s Wednesday and Thursday. Some scattered showers. It will be very windy Wednesday, subsiding a little bit Thursday. But look at this. Friday, we got that cold dome of high pressure. Will initially start out as snow, transitioning to sleet, freezing rain, eventually rain. And then Friday night, we'll be back to like ice. It's just going to be a mess. Yeah. So we're probably going to see a big range of snow here, 3 to 8 inches of snow with maybe up to a quarter inch of ice, potentially Friday night. This is all dependent on the exact track and thermal profiles of the upper atmosphere. However, Saturday, I think we'll switch over to rain, but please stay tuned. things are subject to change. Thanks for joining me for this edition of Media Mark's Weather Northeastern and Weather Eastern. Don't forget Facebook Media Mark, Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern, at Susquehanna Weather for my local page, and guess what? MediaMark.com, WeatherNortheastern.com is Twitter, at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, question or comment down below, smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell button, share the video, and thanks for joining me.